I was born in Morton, Texas, county seat, on August the 25th, 1946, to Mary Catherine and Thornton Evan Wilson. Now, my granddad was Henry Evan, and his father was Henry Evan. Initially, way back 6 grandparents ago, came over from Edinburgh, Scotland to Pennsylvania, and according to my dad's sister, got mixed up with a bunch of hoodlums back then around 1770. And James Wilson, one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence, supposedly is my 6th grade. He helped frame the Constitution, was the first Supreme Court justice. Grandfather was born in Mississippi. And at 18, he liked to work with the cotton industry, and he was working in cotton gin. And there was a rat in the gin, dirt floor, old gin stands. There was a .22 there they used to help control the rats. He aimed at the rat, missed it at the gin stand. He put the rifle down, went home, kissed his mother goodbye, packed a duffel bag, and made his way to Texas. Told his mother, tell my dad goodbye, but I'm getting out of here before they really get mad at me for putting a hole in the gin stand. He stayed in the cotton industry and was asked by the Tsar of Russia to come over, and he installed the first cottonseed oil mill in Russia in 1910. Stayed over in Russia for 1 year, came back, ended up owning a cottonseed oil mill and a cotton gin, and I worked at his gin when I was growing up. My father had a feed store. I did just little odd things like sweep up and when I could, and then when I finally was strong enough to lift a 100-pound bag of feed, then he allowed me to lift those and take them to the pickup out front to load the pickup. It made me realize that I want to get a good education. My mother did have one, and all the time growing up, it was never a question. It was just, what is going to be your degree, not are you going to go to college? Because I came from very humble beginnings. I had 2 pairs of blue jeans, enough shirts for each day, a pair of tennis shoes, 1 Sunday suit, and Sunday pair of shoes to wear to church every Sunday. And my dad's business would do good to make, $4,000 a year. My mother had the private kindergarten and taught school when she ended up giving the kindergarten to the First Baptist Church. And so I came from, I don't say nothing, I didn't know any different. We had food on the table. I played with my friends in the neighborhood. I'd come up Saturday morning, put my shorts on, no shoes, go out and play, rode my bicycle any place, no helmet, rode in the back of pickups, didn't worry about it. And Mother had a horn that she would honk and go, da 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 da. When I heard that, I knew I better get home. Because if I didn't get home, I'm going to get to play the next Saturday. And so it's just that kind of small town growing up. I was raised an Aggie. I knew the Aggie war hymn when I was 5 years old. Been to bonfires. I saw John David Crow play football. I was gun-ho Aggie, but there was just one problem. A&M was all male and core mandatory. And for a 19-year-old boy, that just didn't sit real well. And I decided to see if there was another school besides Texas A&M, and I got accepted to the University of Texas. And so my car was packed. I went to my mom and said, "You gonna tell Dad?" He said, "Oh no, that's your job." So car was packed. I was on the driveway fixing to leave for school. And I looked at my dad in the eye and I said, "Dad, I just got to tell you, I'm going to the Colorado, not the Brazos." I got in the car, didn't say another word, and drove off. I called him when I got there to let him know I got safely. And he said, "I'll make you a deal." I said, "What's that?" He said, "You graduate, I'll forgive you. But you're going to have to graduate to get that forgiveness." So I had that hanging over me for 3 years. I majored in aerospace engineering and graduated on the dean's list. My first semester, I went on scholastic probation because I didn't know you were supposed to study. At the junior college, grades came real easy. At Texas, grades did not come easy. I came to Bell. I had $23 to my name. I just bought a brand new car, Capital Chevrolet. Car payment was coming due, but I knew they checked I had a job. I drove up here. Bell was on strike. No job. So they turned around, came back, went to the motel, called Max Glass, my supervisor, said, "Oh, yeah, we're on strike. Why don't you come over to the house and have a hamburger?" 1969 is when I came to work here. And Bell was really heavily in supporting the Vietnam War. They were running 3 shifts, 24/7. And basically, people said the strike was caused, they were tired and they needed a break. They had been working like crazy. They were putting out 160 helicopters a month. The line was moving every 90 minutes, I think. And to put that in perspective, my next to last year at Bell, they sold 160 helicopters all year long. The assembly line there in the main building is just wall-to-wall helicopters as far as you could see. Cobras, Hueys, Kiowas, ended up becoming the Jet Ranger commercially. People living in Southhurst complained about the noise, but that's the goose's laying the golden egg. If you didn't have that, you wouldn't have Southhurst. Right away, that September, I entered grad school at UTA and got a master's in engineering mechanics, which was the fundamental structural analysis for aircraft. And did that in 21 months, pretty quick. And then when I finished that, I had in my future plans of going into management. So then I signed up and got a master's in management at TCU. Hurst was the 3rd largest town in Tarrant County with 20,000 population. The airport hadn't gotten here yet. Airport freeway wasn't built. The 121 going downtown wasn't there. There was Fort Worth, Arlington, and Hurst. Keller was small. Grapevine was small. Colleyville still there small. And we were bigger than Bedford and Euless and North Richland Hills. And but they had land, and we were just about built out even back then. So the airport came, and with that came a lot of commerce, a lot of interest. American Airlines left New York and repositioned themselves down here. Everyone else started growing. The whole area just started exploding. When I went to look at the house and made an offer on it, there was one house before me, then there was a barbed wire fence, and there were horses and cattle, big pasture land, trees. Oh man, this is gonna be great. It's gonna be quiet, dead-end street. We won't have any traffic. And of course, first house, it takes a while for my loan to get approved. I think I'd saved $1,100 cash is all I had. And so once it got approved, 6 weeks later, went to close on it. They gave me the keys to the house, and I went. The barbed wire fence was gone. There were bulldozers running up and down. The trees were being pushed over, and Northeast Mall appeared a half a block from my house. I can thank B.J. Hampton for that. B.J. Hampton was really instrumental in getting Northeast Mall here. Now, as a council member and a mayor, I am really happy he did. There was a store, grocery store in the mall, Leonard's did. They had the Leonard's department store, and right next to it was a grocery store. The big one to go out to eat was C.A. Sanford's restaurant. C.A. was the chicken fried steak king of Texas. He was president of the Texas Restaurateurs Association, and he was former mayor of Hurst. And then he bolted from Hurst and became the city manager of North Richland Hills, and he was responsible for the golf course going in North Richland Hills, Iron Horse. He wanted a golf course, so he put one in for himself. The closest thing to Main Drag was probably Pipeline. Once upon a time, Highway 10 was. And all the business were Highway. Then they gravitated up to Pipeline and then some up to Bedford Road. The movie theater there in Bel Air Shopping Center was the only movie theater that would go there. There was one or two other. There was a Dairy Queen on Bedford Road, which is now Lisa's Chicken, and there wasn't much more. Fred Sturm was my idol. He was the mayor of Hurst, and he really personified what a mayor needs to be in the way he conducted himself. And he counseled me before I first ran for mayor. Another one that comes to mind is Herb Leach. And Herb was an engineer at Bell, and he insisted on making the grades of our roads thicker and stronger than the required minimum. And as a result of that, the good roads in Hearst, you could almost call them the Herb Leach Memorial Roads, that we have the foundation there because his insistence. Prior Reeves was on the school board when they consolidated HEB School District, and he was responsible for the school district that we have now. So he very much was important too. He lived in Hearst. According to his son, that he got several death threats because of the consolidation, and it was very much a hot potato politically. I got to be good friends with Bob Vogel. He said, "Henry, I'm still mad at Hearst." I said, "Why are you mad at Hearst?" He said, "That Northeast Mall deserves to be in Fort Worth. You stole it from us." And I said, "Bob, it's just ended up in the right city." William Letchworth Hearst, Uncle Billy. Hearst was really populated from people come from Indiana and people come from Tennessee. Uncle Billy came from Tennessee. The Arwines and the Souders came from Indiana. This was after the big war in 1860s. And the Yankees and the Southerners didn't get along real well. And of course, the name Hearst came from William Letchworth Hearst. He had a spot down by where the railroad was, and they wanted to put a station there. And he said, "Okay, you can put a station if you call it the Hearst Station." Well, the town kind of grew around that and became known as the Hearst Stop and then Hearst in itself. Well, he was a fiddler and loved to go to parties and fiddle all the time. And when he passed away, the only cemetery in town was the Arwines had donated land for a school and a cemetery, and it was the Arwine Cemetery. And Uncle Billy said, "You are not going to bury me in a Yankee cemetery." So Uncle Billy is buried in Bedford. I asked the city manager, could we dig him up and move him to Hearst, and they said no. He's the grandfather of Bill Souder. Now, his daughter, Emma Hearst, married Bill's dad, Souder, and so that's the first time the two families actually reconciled. Emma had a grocery store, and Bill came back from World War II and ended up becoming the postmaster and had the post office in her grocery store. And then when they built the post office up here on Precinct Line, he was the first postmaster in Hearst. Advanced composites were coming on the scene, graphite epoxy. You know about them now in golf clubs and tennis rackets. Well, they were just being introduced for structural elements for aircraft. I designed the first part that flew on a Bell helicopter of graphite epoxy, and maybe that flew on any helicopter. And it was for some end plates for the V-22. So I worked in that area as a structural engineer in the research group. And then as I got my master's degree in business, I had the opportunity to go over to commercial marketing. And so for 3 years, I helped sell helicopters by doing technical analysis. Can you take off at this and carry this payload? Help develop a cost of ownership analysis. So I could sit with a potential buyer and run through the numbers and tell him if he was going to be profitable or not. And then progressed on and ended up as back in the structures department and retired as chief of airframe structures with about 61 people under the umbrella of the people underneath me. Had some good things that happened in that. I got to be the host nation coordinator for a NATO conference. It was a NATO conference on aircraft flight mechanics. And so I had set up the whole meeting, coordinated it. I had a friend at Bell. His name was Bruce Nelson, lived in Hearst. He came to me one day and said, "Henry, you know, I'm kind of involved in politics. So what I like to do is I like to make sure we have the right candidates elected, and then I forget about it for a year. And I'm having a meeting at my house and wonder if you want to come and just meet some of these guys that we're talking to." Well, some of the guys were Dr. Jimmy McKenzie and Dr. Ralph Butts. So that day I got to meet them and got to know them. Of course, they ran for council, they got elected, and so they told me that we need to get you involved. And so they put me on traffic safety. I served for 3 years and then moved over to planning and zoning for 2 years. That took me from 1980 to 1985. Well, my first P&Z meeting, I didn't know what it was like. So I showed up, we were in the conference room. They were going over every agenda item, and I thought, well, this is it. And everyone got up and picked up their books. They didn't walk to the back door. They walked to go out to the council chambers. So I said, I guess I'll follow them. And went out. When I went through the door, the room was packed. They were looking at putting a 7-Eleven in my neighborhood, pretty close. I knew about everybody in the room. Half of them there wanted the convenience of the 7-Eleven. Half of them there didn't want a 7-Eleven in their neighborhood. I wanted to say, pardon me, ma'am, but I'm real new at this. I don't know how to vote, so may I go home? But instead I stayed, and I've always voted, and I knew that I need to accept and be able to explain that I voted what I thought was the best way to be. And so it was kind of a shock when I went out there. It was, a little baptism by fire. They throw you out in the middle of the lake to learn how to swim. So I learned how to swim that night. And in 1985, I decided that I've done my homework. I wanted to make sure that I was prepared before I ran for council, and I thought P&Z was absolutely the best preparation. And so I ran for council and got shocked. I did not get an opponent, so I got elected unopposed my first 2 times out. By that time, politics on the council was waning. It was really falling into, we want to work together as a team. We didn't agree on all the issues. We had split votes, but that's normal, and that's what you want, to be able to get all sides represented. Had several interesting. I think at the end of my first year, the Star-Telegram wanted to do an article on me, just a human interest story, and talk about my background and everything. And going through all of that, my time at Bell, growing up. And her last question was, what is your position on the council? Well, I'm an engineer. I'm definitely not going to talk about any kind of political position I make. So I decided to think, well, I'm going to talk about the position on the council. My position is to sit between the beauty and the beast. I had Pat Evans, very gorgeous city secretary on one side, and Ralph Butts, very crouchy old gentleman on the other side. She printed it in the Sunday paper. Monday morning, I get a call from Ralph. Says, Henry? Yeah, Ralph. Did you read the paper? Yeah, Ralph. I read the paper too, Henry. Good, Ralph. Well, Henry, I think what you need to do is call Pat Evans and apologize for calling her a beast. The opportunity came to expand Northeast Mall, and the mall was about 25, 26 years old. And so I decided to do a deep dive into malls that age, and I found that most malls that age start dying, and that usually within 10 years after that, they're gone. And at that time, sales tax to the mall was 40% of our revenue. The thought of losing 40% revenue was really not good. We'd have to double the property tax to make that up. The average buyout was about 1.8 times their appraised value. So they were very good offers. People were told they could take anything or everything. We had 10 properties that didn't want to sell. I lost a lot of sleep over this. 5 of them were rent houses. But one of the ladies that were the 3 houses, while the lawsuit was still active, came to a council meeting and congratulated us on our vision, on how really great it was. And our attorney almost fell off of his chair at that time, because that was being recorded and could be used in court if we ever made it to court. We thought we were on the way to Supreme Court. The other thing is we had the opportunity to buy land at the end of Diamond Oaks Boulevard behind City Hall. We always felt like we can turn that kind of into a municipal way. 15 years later, we felt like we're in a financial position to build a conference center. And the architect we had, we'd used several times, Ron Hobbs, he got an award for the conference center. We also just got an award for our animal shelter that he designed. And it is absolutely first class. The bonds for paying for the construction are paid for out of half-cents economic development sales tax and hotel motel tax. We were already collecting the money for the economic development sales tax. So we did not have to raise tax one penny for our citizens to get this fine facility. The other thing that because of Northeast Mall in the area, about 70 to 71% of our sales tax come from non-citizens. So whenever we have a sales tax election, our citizens know we pay 30%, but we get 100% back. And so all of our sales tax elections have passed big time. 2013, we were honored by being the best city council in Texas by the Texas City Management Association. And when he came, he said there's several things that were very key in our decision. One is your longevity. Councils with longevity think strategically. Councils with shorts think tactically. You're not trying to do things for today. You're trying to do things to make sure things are good tomorrow and the next day, as well as the way our council works together. We're all friends, but when we hit the dice, we're individual council members. We don't vote because my friend's voting that way. We vote because we have studied and we think this is the way it ought to be. Hearst is extremely fortunate to have the staff that we have. We have full confidence in the staff. I've gone against staff one time in 37 years. I was elected in 1985, and I served on the council for 33 years prior to running for mayor. And then I've been mayor. I'll be coming up on my 5th year as mayor. Charles Swearingen, Council Member Swearingen, served 30 years. Bill Souter served 28. And Bob Hampton was the first mayor to go beyond 2 to 4 years. But in the beginning, the mayors were appointed by the council. And then I think Russell Johnson was the first to be elected by the people. I had a lady at Bell I knew real well, and she had a problem, and so she called court enforcement, and they came out and they said, well, this isn't really bad. And he said, I know it's not nearly as bad as that pig that lives next door. And they said, there's a pig next door? And said, yeah. So they looked over and there was a potbelly pig that had grown to 300 pounds. The pig's name was Eli the pig. Eli loved Dr. Peppers. You could feed him a Dr. Pepper bottle and hold it, and the pig would drink it. Dr. Pepper sent him 3 cases of Dr. Pepper, free. Well, we ended up deciding we need to outlaw Eli, and Eli was going to have to leave town. So he was loaded on a trailer one night, and he was hauled out of town. I talked to my friend from Bell about a month later, and she said, you know, that screened-in porch that they had now have plywoods all over, covering up all the screened-in. We pretty well think Eli came back in the middle of the night and is living on the boarded-up porch. I got on the board of the Texas Municipal League, and I became president of the Texas Municipal League, which is a collection of about 1,200 towns in Texas. Their primary thrust is to fight bad legislation for cities, as well as provide free legal for small cities that can't afford attorneys, as well as training. When I was president of TML, went all over the state, and I could see the political factions and problems that they had, people actually hating each other that sat on the same council and fought, and doing everything they could to destroy the other person. And we've had some of this in Tarrant County too. But luckily, we haven't seen any of it in this town. Everything was rocking along great. Sales tax were good. Everybody was happy. And then this horrible virus decided to invade the United States. The mayors of Tarrant County had a conference call 3 times a week to talk about how we're going to attack this problem. Northeast Mall closed for 3 weeks. We were losing $100,000 a week from no mall sales. The only thing that kept us going were the stores that were allowed to stay open. Mr. C's Hardware, they increased their sales by 50%. Lowe's increased their sales. Joann Fabric increased their sales. A sewing machine company, they sell sewing machines, they had to buy or rent the space next to there because their business more than doubled. But we were concerned. We closed down all the city facilities. I know the library closed. You could call for a book or have it, check it out online, and they would bring it out to the car. We closed the senior center, and that was one that was the toughest because a lot of the seniors were widows, widowers. That was their only outlet to see other human beings. What do? Do we wipe down all the playground equipment in the parks to keep them sterile? When are we going to open back up? It was really a tough time to go through, not knowing, are we ever going to come out of this nightmare? The last city facility to open up was the senior center, and we did it on reduced hours. We moved the exercise equipment more than 6 feet apart, and I cannot tell you how happy those seniors were. I went there the day it's open just to make sure everything was going good. The county judge called me, and he said, we need to have a vaccination center in Northeast Tarrant County. You need to call Oscar Trevino, the North Richland Hills mayor, and let's work out where we can do it. I said, Glenn, we don't need to call Oscar at all. We're going to do it at the Hearst Conference Center. We set that up in about a week. The fire chief got on the phone and got the 14 fire departments in Northeast Tarrant County to volunteer people, police from those volunteered to come and work the center. It would take 100 volunteers a day to do it. And we set up and we shot about 188,500 arms, and we were the #1 vaccination center in Tarrant County. There's no better place to live in the United States than Northeast Tarrant County. If you think about it, the United States is the greatest country to live in. Texas is by far the greatest state to live in. North Texas is the best place to live. The Dallas-Fort Worth area is premium, and we're in the most ideal place in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So this is the best place in the whole country to live. I think because we care about our citizens. Some of the events that I really love, for the seniors, the Christmas dinner that Mr. Butler started, John Butler started, and we have about 800, 900 seniors that we feed Christmas dinner to, free of charge. The Christmas tree lighting has turned into a big community event. I don't know, maybe as many as 15, 20,000 show up for that. The other thing is our Stars and Stripes, the 4th of July event. In the past, we've had as many as 30,000, I think, and been told one of the best firework displays. It was 30 minutes. A lot of the neighboring towns had 20 minutes, but we had a full 30 minutes. And it's really rewarding to see the town assemble having a good time. Easter, we have an egg hunt as well as an adaptive children's egg hunt. So kids that they're special needs kids, and that we have a special egg hunt for them. And it's good to see those parents glow when they know that our town is offering something special for them. I firmly believe that the quality of life we give our citizens, the library is excellent. We made a decision a few years back to expand the library, made it really nice, and we built a first-class senior center. Everything that we've done, the most recent, of course, is our animal control and adoption center. We went from about 2,000 square feet to 16,000 to absolutely state-of-the-art, a lot of amenities, the best dog park in Tarrant County. And so when we do things first class. If you look at our conference center, it is first class. But we just approach things knowing that we want to do the best we can for our citizens. It feels funny, and I mean this seriously, to walk in the grocery store and someone come up and say, "Hi, Mayor." Am I really? I'm Mayor? And never thought, because I came from very humble beginnings. My name is on a lot of the facilities because you put the cornerstone in with the stone with the council. I mean, and that's nice, but that's just a piece of stone. You can carve anything on a piece of stone. But I want people to think that I served with love for the city, love for the citizens, and that I put that above any specific thing that I wanted for Henry. Everybody on the council works together, and no one has a hidden agenda or something that they want to push. They see the value of doing it. And I make sure that our council understands that's the way I am, and that's the way I expect them to be. It's been fun. It's been a good ride.